The Boston Red Sox lineup is about to get even more dangerous as the return of Alex Bregman is near.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's all completely free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show as the Red Sox continue to stay on a roll. After sweeping the Washington Nationals over the weekend, they then came back home and took game one against the Colorado Rockies in dominant fashion. And honestly, that's exactly what they need to be doing against a team like Colorado. They need to pounce on a team like that is just so incredibly weaker than they are. And the Red Sox of much earlier this season probably lose this series against the Rockies. So got to keep the foot on the gas, sweep Colorado, and maybe take two against the Tampa Bay Rays at a minimum. Obviously, more than that would be ideal. But go into the All-Star break with some momentum because honestly, this Red Sox team is heading in the right direction. It's only about to get stronger as Alex Bregman's return to the lineup is near. Going to be talking about that today, as well as closely examining Garrett Crochet and Aroldis Chapman, the other two Red Sox All-Stars, and how they make a difference to this Red Sox team. So Alex Bregman said yesterday that he's really excited about his return to the Red Sox. He said he's hoping to return prior to the All-Star break, but if that doesn't happen, it hopefully will be shortly after that. So ideally for him, it'd be in the next few days, but either way, it's going to be very soon. And that's very exciting if you are the Boston Red Sox, because this is a guy who has made a world of a difference to the lineup in the time that he's been here. In 51 games prior to his injury, Bregman hit .299 with 11 home runs and 35 RBIs. His slugging percentage of .553 through May 23rd is his best over that span since he tallied a .592 OPS with the 2019 Astros, which ironically was his last All-Star game appearance. And he actually did say that he's not going to be playing in the All-Star game this year, despite the fact that he got in, because he wants to focus on staying healthy and getting ready for real games with the Red Sox again. That is a true teammate. That is a selfless player and a guy who puts his team first. And Alex Bregman more than deserves to be an All-Star because of his productivity on the field. And with the Red Sox team that's scoring a lot of runs right now, slotting Alex Bregman back into the mix is only going to make the Red Sox lineup even more dangerous. And they recently broke a record for most runs scored by any major league team over the span of a week in history. So basically, in the span point of a 1 week time frame, the Red Sox scored more runs than any other team in history has scored in a single week before. That is incredibly promising given the fact that shortly after the Red Sox traded Rafael Devers, the offense was struggling to score runs, especially with runners in scoring position. And now they're starting to pick up the offense a lot. And part of it is, yes, they've played the Nationals and they're now playing the Rockies. But you can even look back to the series prior to that against the Reds. The Red Sox offense was really exploding for runs. And that's a good Reds team. And the Red Sox offense was still able to get things going. Why? Because of the difference of guys like Cedar Rafaela, who's been mashing this year and has grown tremendously at the plate from last season. Abraham Toro, who's been a really pleasant surprise in the Red Sox lineup and continues to come through when they need him to. And Carlos Narvaez, a rookie who the Red Sox acquired actually the same day as they traded for Garrett Crochet. And it kind of got overshadowed a little bit because it just wasn't nearly as big of a move. But Carlos Narvaez has been a game changer for this team, both behind the plate and in front of it. And those three players in particular have really kept the Red Sox offense going at a very competitive rate. And not even to mention Romy Gonzalez, who has been platooning with Abraham Toro at first base. And he also has been doing big things offensively. So it's been a lot of productivity from a group of players on this team that has allowed for the Red Sox to be as good as they are on offense. But Alex Bregman, prior to his injury, was the most consistent and best hitter that this Red Sox team had. So when you're looking at big situations where the Red Sox have somebody on base and they need somebody to come up to the plate and get that big hit, you knew a lot of the time you could rely on Alex Bregman to be that guy to get that job done. And that's one of the best things about it, is that for Bregman to come back, you know the offense is going to be better than they are right now, and they are on fire right now. So when you slot him back into the lineup, the most likely scenario is going to be that the Red Sox are probably going to option an infielder to AAA Worcester or DFA somebody if they don't think that they'll go claimed, or if they just don't feel like they have a spot for them on this team. It's hard to justify doing that with an outfielder because of the fact that the Red Sox outfield is so talented right now, and a lot of the players in that outfield are doing big things this season to produce and contribute. So my inkling is that an infielder is going to be the one to go, but who is that infielder going to be? You have Nate Eaton and David Hamilton, who both have leveraged their speed to be able to make an impact on this roster. You have Marcelo Meyer, who's been playing a really steady defense at third base for the Red Sox and has also shown that he can be flexible and play second base too. It's obviously not going to be Romy or Toro because those two guys platoon at first base and the Red Sox kind of need them there. It's obviously not going to be Trevor Story because Trevor Story is their shortstop. So it's a hard decision for the Red Sox to have to make, but somebody likely is going to be moved either down to AAA or DFA'd when Bregman does return. And what's even more exciting about that is even as recently as last night during the game, Alex Bregman was seen chatting with Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer in the dugout, and he is always doing that. The young players really look up to him, and he has made a difference for them as a mentor. He has been able to give tips to the young players on how to overcome pressure, how to adjust their game to be able to compete at the highest level. And the pointers that he has been giving them has made a world of a difference for these guys. So if he's actually active and he's playing again in the Red Sox lineup, not only is he talking to these guys about certain practices and things that you can work on if you're a youngster trying to really establish a role in this league, but now he can show them, because it's a lot harder for him to make as much of a difference by just telling and just explaining. Now he can explain something to them, but then go into a game and actually do it. So therefore, then it shows these guys, okay, I explained to you how I would approach this situation. Now watch me do this during a real live at bat that I have. So it is going to be a lot more effective in many different ways when Bregman comes back. He is going to make a difference because of his consistent offense, really durable and stable defense at third base, given that he is a reigning Gold Glover at that position, and his leadership that he provides, and the fact that he can be a lead by example type of guy who the young players can continue to look up to. So there's no mystery that Alex Bregman makes the Red Sox a better team. And that is exactly why he got voted into the All-Star game. I know there were people saying that it may not be fair that he got in because he's been injured for a while. But with the production that he has given the Red Sox and the way that he has helped to put the Red Sox from a borderline wildcard team to a legit contending team just by being here, that in alone is enough to justify an all-star appearance. Now, you think about the fact the Red Sox have scuffled as of late prior to these last couple series. But again, they didn't have Alex Bregman in the lineup. And when they did, yes, they were still struggling, but that was not because of him. Now they've started to put things together a little bit more, and now they're in a better spot. And Bregman's going to be coming back. Really excited to see how that goes down. I've also been really excited about Garrett Crochet this year and how he's made out as the Red Sox ace. Going to be discussing him next. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. If you're already watching games anyway, why not just bet on them and make money? My husband does it. He makes charts every day to determine what games to bet on that day, and he's won lots of money doing it while he's also sitting alongside me watching the game. So why not capitalize on that opportunity to make money while watching sports? New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel is a great way to make lots of money by doing what you love, watching sports. Can't beat that. The Red Sox beat the Rockies last night in the first of a 3-game series, and it's exactly what the Red Sox needed to be doing. You need to beat up on the bad teams if you want to be taken seriously as a contender. Because what would have happened is if the Red Sox lost this game against the Rockies, everybody would say, wow, they're frauds. They have no chance of competing if they can't even beat the Rockies. So you have to beat up on those types of teams, and you have to maximize and take advantage of the fact that the Rockies have been abysmal, and I mean truly abysmal this season. So they won that game, and they're starting to get back on track now. But one of the reasons that they've even been kept in any conversations about being a slate contender when they were really struggling was Garrett Crochet, one of the very few bright spots on a Red Sox team that has struggled a lot with pitching this season. He's been an absolute lifesaver because while you have a good amount of pitchers on this Red Sox roster right now that are question marks in which you really don't know what you're going to get from them on any given day, we don't have to worry about that nearly as much with Garrett Crochet. He is the ace. He goes out there nearly every time and gets the job done. And that is the type of player I want on my favorite team. And the biggest thing with Garrett Crochet is that he just continues to work and work and work. And he doesn't back down from challenge, and he's good at making adjustments. He leads the majors in strikeouts and is the 4th Red Sox hurler in franchise history to reach 150 strikeouts before the All-Star break, joining Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez, and Chris Sale. He is no joke. He has undoubtedly been the Red Sox best pitcher by far, and he said when he was talking about it all one day and just about the success that he's had with the Boston Red Sox, he said catchers Connor Wong and Carlos Narvaez have been huge for me, continuing to just develop as a starter throughout the seasons. The conversations I have with pitching coach Andrew Bailey and bullpen coach Chris Holt between starts have been great. Since I have been a Red Sox, I've done nothing but improve, and that's a credit to the 4 guys that I just named. So obviously Crochet is very humble, really credits it to the catchers and the coaches for allowing him to grow in the best way to help him succeed. He allowed 2 runs on 9 hits and 2 walks over 5 innings on Sunday as the Red Sox completed that series sweep over the Nationals. He struck out 7 in his 5th straight win. On that outing, he said, started off good with the first 2 batters, and I think that what transpired the rest of that 3rd inning was kind of the story of my day. Just spraying the heater, getting into deep counts, and ultimately missing when it mattered. Thankful for the run support early and was just able to hold on as best as I could to pass it off to the bullpen. They did a great job holding on to the lead. That's another thing I love about Garrett Crochet, accountability. He doesn't sugarcoat things. He doesn't shy away from saying, hey, look, I didn't have it today and I need to be better next time. And that is exactly why he was voted into the All-Star game. This is his second straight All-Star appearance after he made the roster with the White Sox last year. He threw a scoreless inning in last year's Midsummer Classic in Texas. He said, last year, not that I didn't feel like I deserved it, but the rules are a little bit different now where every team has to have a rep. But to be one of three from our team representing the Red Sox, it's a special feeling. So, again, another characteristic, humble. That's another thing I really like him is he doesn't really give himself a lot of credit. And when his teammates are even giving him credit, like saying, Crochet has carried us all season, so we need to give him run support. He doesn't say anything like that about himself. He's always giving credit to everybody else who has helped him to grow. And that is exactly the type of guy that I want being that number one starter for my favorite team. So when I think of all-star appearances and I think of why guys get voted into the all-star game, I think about the guys who make the biggest impact on their respective team. And Garrett Crochet clearly makes a huge impact on the team because the Red Sox are a team that did not have an ace for a while coming into this season. And now they finally have a guy who is a true number one starter that can pitch at the top of the rotation. And that's what you need to start building a championship contending team. If you don't have a steady number one starter, you really cannot win in the playoffs because the best offenses will flock and stomp all over your pitching staff. So having Garrett Crochet is truly a blessing and truly a strong piece of the puzzle for what the Red Sox are really going for, of building a consistent winner. And that's exactly why they gave him a contract extension, because you want to keep a guy long term who you know is making the best difference that they possibly can to your team, and who you know is going to be a guy that's going to go out there and get the job done when you really need him to. So that's exactly what Garrett Crochet brings to the table. And if you look ahead to the future with where the Red Sox are at and where Garrett Crochet is at, he is still so young and still has so much left in the tank. So the hope is that he'll just continue to improve as a pitcher, and that even when the Red Sox do get more starting pitchers to hopefully add around him that are also incredibly talented, they still see Crochet as their number one starter. And that's something that he really has to embrace. That's a title that Crochet certainly does not take lightly. And when you get voted into the All-Star game, you say, okay, I'm going to represent my team the best way that I possibly can. And I do know that he will do that. And if the Red Sox had not traded for Crochet, it'd be really difficult to watch the starting rotation this season because they still wouldn't have a true ace. And one of the nicest things that I like about Crochet's starts are you can really trust him. And you know that when you throw that man on the mound, that you are going to have a really good shot to win that game. And because the Red Sox haven't exactly had a guy like that in their rotation for the last few years, it was easy to forget what that feeling was like of having that one pitcher that you feel really confident in going out there and taking care of business. So if you think about the postseason, obviously the Red Sox aren't necessarily a team right now that we can confidently say will make the postseason. They definitely still have to make up a lot of ground, and they need to just be playing consistently good baseball at the level in which we've seen from them over the last few games. They need to play like a team that is on a mission for the rest of the season. And if they do, and they do get into the playoffs, Garrett Crochet will be called upon to play the first game of whatever series they have or whatever team they line up against. Crochet has to be ready to know, okay, I am likely the game one starter for any playoff series. So that means I need to go out there and I need to absolutely shove. And that's exactly the mindset that he has. And that's why Crochet is going to make a great all-star again to represent the American League. And not only that, but when you have a guy like Garrett Crochet on your baseball team, it really just makes you feel like you're a lot more competitive, even though it's one person being added. So For example, when the Red Sox traded for Garrett Crochet, everybody was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is a great acquisition to this Red Sox team. And there were people saying the Red Sox still won't be contenders, even though they have him. And yes, to a point, he is one player. You need a team to make the playoffs. And there were people who weren't necessarily super confident in the team that the Red Sox were putting out there. And they were saying that makes it really difficult for the Red Sox to make the playoffs. I do get that. But if you just have Garrett Crochet's name on your roster attached to your starting rotation, it's hard not to justify feeling confident in the ability of this Red Sox team to be able to go out there and at least try to make somewhat of a push, because you're going to put Crochet out there game one and it'll give you somewhat of a chance. That alone just boosts the roster a lot more just by his name being there. And that's why he was made into an all-star, because people see the name Garrett Crochet and they're like, wow, he's legitimate. He is going to make the Red Sox starting rotation vastly, and I really do mean vastly, better than it was before. What makes Crochet so special? His arsenal. He has a really good range of pitches that he utilizes on a regular basis to fool opposing hitters. And that's one of the biggest things that he does super effectively that you don't see every other starter do as effectively, is he knows what his put away pitches, which is that four-seam fastball when he really challenges hitters. But he also has a really solid curveball and a really solid slider and a really solid cutter. I mean, he utilizes all of these pitches regularly in his outings, and he has learned to manage it effectively, and he has learned when to throw what pitch and to who. And granted, the Red Sox in the series finale against the Nationals were still able to get a really good performance from him in that game, despite the fact that he didn't really look himself. And he was able to bounce back pretty well after a rough start against the Cincinnati Reds. So when you look at all-stars, think of Garrett Crochet, because not many people deserve it more than he does. And I'm so excited to see him go out there and represent the American League very well. Coming up, the Red Sox legendary closer was named an all-star. What has he done to contribute to the team this year? If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. I personally can relate to this because I used to work in recruiting for a brief period of time. And if I missed a call, it was so bad, because that could have been a client calling me back and me trying to get these candidates jobs. I need the clients to be on board with our recruiting process. So if a client was calling me and I didn't answer, they might back out of allowing us to recruit for them. Or it could have been a candidate calling me, and I got so many of those types of calls. But if it's a candidate calling, I want to help them find a job. So sometimes it's impossible to keep up with all those calls. And that's where OpenPhone comes in. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Red Sox listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. This is exactly why you need the #1 business phone system. If you have a job where you're on the phone all the time, this is 1000% going to be your lifesaver, and it's really just going to help keep your life so much more organized. The Red Sox are coming off of a very strong win against the Colorado Rockies on Monday night, and this is exactly the types of teams that the Red Sox need to just feast on and mop the floor with. They did it against the Nationals, and now I'm really hoping they do it again here against the Rockies and sweep them. This Rockies team does not win games. They lose an insane number of games, and they are actually on pace at the moment to break last year's White Sox record for worst record in baseball ever. So yeah, cannot be losing against a team like that. But The Red Sox have certainly had their battles this season, and losing a series to the team like the Rockies would truly be the icing on the cake for that. But one person who has helped prevent the Red Sox from falling completely out of contention is closer Aroldis Chapman, who has been absolute lights out for this Red Sox team this year. And yes, he does have one blown save, but he has cut down a lot on walks. He used to give up walks like it was nobody's business, but he has been able to lock in a lot more on the strike zone as of late, and it has really helped him to find success. He signed a 1-year, $10.75 million contract to come to Boston in December, and he has responded with his best season in years while serving as a full-time closer for the first time since 2021. Now, keep in mind, again, the Red Sox weren't really sure who their closer was going to be going into spring training, and then they made that decision during the spring that it was going to be Aroldis Chapman. I think they just really liked what they saw from him at that time, and they said, we can trust you as our closer. And again, because he has such a huge resume worth of experience closing games, the Red Sox said, hey, our other guys aren't as experienced in that role. We should put someone in there who understands the pressure of being a closer. So that's exactly what they have gotten in Chapman. When he was talking about the All-Star game, he said, that is something that I wanted. That was a goal for me this year, to be able to be back to the All-Star game and to put some hard work from last year to this year to be able to make it there. It is even more meaningful with my first year in the organization. So he is hyped about being an All-Star for the Red Sox. It was one of his goals going into the season was to be an All-Star, and the numbers certainly back it up. Over his first 38 games with the Red Sox, he has converted 15 of 16 save opportunities to go with a 1.25 ERA. Most notable for Chapman has been the improvement overall of his command. Like I had mentioned, he did have walk problems before, and now he has cut down a little bit more on the walks. His 2.6 walks per 9 innings is by far his best since 2016. He fired a scoreless 8th inning on Sunday, allowing a single to James Wood, but overall, not a messy outing for him at all. Alex Cora actually spoke about him and said the thing about him is he's hungry for information. He wants to keep getting better. The daily meetings with bullpen coach Chris Holt, and they talk about the slider and the split and how the sinker is playing his delivery. He doesn't want to be good. He wants to be great. And honestly, that speaks volumes, what Alex Cora said, because when he was talking about the fact that he wants to keep getting better, Chapman is on the older side now. And the fact that he still wants to continue to keep learning and continuing to find ways to continue to get better, that is what makes for the most successful baseball players. And even when he's older and maybe potentially thinking about hanging it up in the next couple of years, that's a big thing for a guy to say is, yeah, I'm just focusing on continuing to play better. That indicates to me that maybe he isn't necessarily looking to retire at the end of the season. He wants to keep playing until he physically can't, which good for him if that ends up being the case. But Aroldis Chapman definitely is nearing the end of his career for sure. And he could end his career on such a high note with the Red Sox just because of the season that he is having right now. And if he ends up wanting to come back to Boston next year, that would be great. But we'll have to see if Chapman is on board with that, or if he's leaning more towards going elsewhere, or if the Red Sox decide before the trade deadline that they are going to trade him, because that is another big thing here, is that when you have a guy like Chapman who has been contributing as much as he has to this Red Sox team, it's really difficult to justify not trading him. If the Red Sox are fully in contention, I don't think they will, because I think that they'll then see, okay, we have a shot this year, so we need to keep around our dominant all-star closer. But if we are not in contention this year, then we could think about shipping him off at the trade deadline, and another team could use him as a rental for their playoff push down the stretch. So he's kind of a wild card here, but he was voted into the All-Star game because it's nice for the Red Sox to have a closer that's that reliable. We haven't had that in a while. Kenley Jansen was the Red Sox closer the last couple seasons, but that was always an uphill battle with him. All the base traffic and your heart pounding and feeling so nervous about Kenley being out there. I don't get those same feelings with Chapman. I just feel a lot more relaxed and feel like he's going to go out there and get the job done basically every time. There's a reason he's probably going to be a Hall of Fame closer. So another player for the Boston Red Sox that more than deserves to be an all-star. Alex Bregman already said he's not playing in it so he can focus on his health and his rehab progression and try to get back to the team as soon as possible. But Garrett Crochet and Aroldis Chapman also will be at the All-Star game next week. I can't believe how fast that came up. Baseball season so far has been flying by, and I cannot believe we're more than halfway through it. But the All-Star game is next week. I'd be curious to see how Crochet and Chapman are used, but both more than deserve it. And so does Alex Bregman, even though he's been hurt, because of how much he actually made a difference on this team prior to his injury. So definitely take note. Craig Breslow actually talked about at one point when asked if he wants to take credit for 3 of his acquisitions that he acquired in the offseason became All-Stars this year. And he basically said, in a way, I do, but it's not really something to brag about. It's just about them going out and showing up and being able to perform. And he said they showed before they got here that they are capable of being all-stars. And now here we are. And obviously not having Bregman in the game will be tough, but it'll be nice to see Crochet and Chapman there because they definitely both more than deserve it. And they both are reasons as to why the Red Sox have been able to mill around in their division and not completely drop out of the running and out of the equation. They are close enough with where the Rays, Yankees, and Blue Jays are at to the point where it's not over. They could, if they continue to win games, catch 1, 2, ideally all 3 of those teams. So lots to be excited about when it comes to the Red Sox All-Stars and tuning into that game next week. But I do appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On MLB Game Night, which is on YouTube or any other podcast platform every night all season long. It's basically our local experts from Locked On giving local analysis on a national scale so that you don't have to continue to scroll through your apps all the time to get scores. That show has you covered. So make sure you check that out next wherever you get your podcast. Like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.